Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Convoluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities, Inc. Today's webinar focuses on Aris Gold. Aris Gold is a newly rebranded mining company with a new management team and board that operates the Marmato mine in Colombia, where a major expansion program is currently underway, as well as the Juby project, an advanced stage gold project in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt of Ontario. And I have with me on the webinar, Neil Woodyer, CEO, and we'll have Andrew Gubbles, Senior Vice President of Corporate Development, and Megan Brown, Vice President of Investor Relations, joining later in the webinar for the Q&A session. So the format of today's webinar will be comprised of two parts. In the beginning, Neil will provide an introduction to Aris Gold, including an overview of its Marmato and Juby operations and what investors have to look forward to in the coming months as it executes on its strategy of building a globally relevant gold producer. In the second part, we'll take your questions live. So please send in your questions via the chat box and we'll get to as many as you can. And I'll note that you can type them in at any point throughout the webinar. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into the presentation. So for Aris Gold, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the Aris Gold corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Aris Gold specific disclosures. So now I'll turn it over to Neil to update you on Aris Gold and what investors have to look forward to with the company.
Okay, well, thank you. The best way to introduce Aris, if I can go to page 3, is to say that Aris in Celtic means again, and that is exactly what we're doing. The Aris team is looking to do it again and to again build the next globally relevant gold producer. We're a team of successful company builders who, because of our success, have pretty unique access to capital. And very importantly, all the team members are personally invested in cash in the company and are therefore fully aligned with our shareholders. We're repeating a proven strategy of delivering growth and value through acquisition, project development, and mine construction. We're starting with a strong asset base. The timing is right for our team to take over Marmato and to build Colombia's next major gold mine. Going on to the next slide. The leadership team in Aris has a long track record of building successful mining companies. The team is led by myself with support from many of the core operating executives from Leagold and Endeavour Mining. The board of directors includes well-known industry leaders such as Ian Telfer, David Garofalo, Peter Moroney, amongst others, who have created some of the world's largest gold mining companies. And very importantly, all these companies started from a single asset and grew from there. And Aris is doing exactly the same, starting with a single asset, which we recently, about 9 weeks ago, took control over. Our strategy is very simple and straightforward. We'll act swiftly to add scale and diversification as we enhance the assets already in our portfolio. Similar successful strategies we followed at Leagold Mining and Endeavour. Endeavour started in 2010 with the acquisition of a single one-mine West African company. This was followed by 5 acquisitions, investments, acquiring 5 mines and 2 advanced stage projects. And we went on to build those 2 advanced stage projects. We divested 3 mines in the process and carried out several optimizations. After 6 years, the resulting company was worth $2 billion and then has now become West Africa's leading gold producer. When we left Endeavour in 2016, we started Leagold, again a single asset company acquisition in Mexico. We, through exploration, doubled the size of the resource and reserve and started an expansion. We also acquired 3 mines in Brazil, and in March last year we merged with a $1 billion company as a billion-dollar company with Equinox Gold. If you look at those two separate companies today, their combined market cap is about 10 billion. Going on to the next slide, the first asset we have is a great starting point to launch the company from. It's the historic Marmato mine in Colombia, and we'll build Colombia's next major gold mine. Over the last year or so, the Caldas team did a great job. They advanced the discovery of a large new ore body below the existing Marmato mine. They established a very meaningful reserve. They completed a detailed pre-feasibility study. They extended the mining license for another 30 years. In addition to all that, they have secured about $275 million worth of financing, the funds needed to modernize the upper mine, the historic mine, and to build the new mine below. So it's an ideal time for us to take over as an experienced team to get the mine built and to move forward as our first asset. On to the next slide. The project in Colombia, Marmato, has all the characteristics of what will become a core mine in our portfolio. It has 2 million ounces reserves with a lot of upside in the 6.3 million ounces resource to extend the mine life beyond the feasibility study period of 13 years. Production will exceed 200,000 ounces a year for the first few years and will average 165 for the 15-year mine life. It has a low operating cost and low capital intensity given the proximity to the existing operating Marmato mine. So it has very, very good economics as a new mine. Looking forward, in the next slide, the operating team's primary focus will be on the new lower mine project. The existing Marmato upper mine, between 950 and 1,300 meters of elevation, will be optimized and continue to feed the totality from its existing plant. It's about 1,200 tons per day plant. The new lower mine, which exhibits a wide porphyry mineralization, is below the 950 level and will be separate operation, mined using long hole stoping methods, and all will be processed about 4,000 tons per day through a new CIP plant that we'll have to build. It will also have a dry stack tailings facility, so we'll be able to overcome a lot of the environmental issues and have good protection that way. Both mines will operate separately, but will share a small central management team. Going on, following the receipt of the mining title extension in February this year, we took control of the company and our 85 million financing came out of escrow. So we've been managing the company now for about 9 weeks. Through 2021, we'll continue our optimization work at Marmato Upper Mine, and we'll see processing efficiencies, improved grade control, and improved mine planning. Later this year, with the completion of the 35,000 meter drill program that was started by the old team in the middle of last year, we'll seek to update the mineral reserve and resources on the lower mine and continue with the engineering and development work and planning. We hope to start the construction of the lower mine in the last quarter of this year. It'll be about a 2-year construction period. Going on, the exploration program that was started last year is about halfway through now, just over halfway through, and it continues to show excellent potential for resource growth, and we expect to be complete round about the end of Q3. The pre-feasibility study that was cut off the drilling in about June of last year, they stopped when they got to 2 million ounces a resource and decided at that stage that was the time to do a pre-feasibility. So since then, the drilling program has continued and is showing very good and encouraging results. So we would hope to be able to extend the reserve base, extend mine life, or even improve the production mine plan as we go through it. But we'll have that information later this year. Our second asset outside Colombia is the Juby project, early stage exploration project in Canada's highly active Abitibi Greenstone Belt. It's well located amongst similar mineralized trends as IM Gold's Coat Lake deposit, and it's approximately 70 kilometers from Alamos's Young-Davidson mine. In July 2020, the mineral resource estimate was 2.3 million ounces pit-constrained resource. We have started a drill program this year to get a better understanding. We're following the suggestions that were made when the last drilling was done and when the last resource estimate was made. So we expect to see some drilling this year and probably continuing next year, and hopefully being able to go way beyond that as a good deposit. So Aris Gold is well placed to relate as it executes its growth strategy. We have a proven leadership team, quality assets that include a producing mine, a funded, permitted development project, and exciting potential exploration in both Colombia and in Canada. We will add organically as our projects are optimized, advanced and de-risked. Further value will be added as Aris Gold growth continues, diversifying the company, becoming more relevant to investors as a multi-asset producer, a very similar way that we did at Lear Gold and Endeavour. Going on, we have a strong financial position. Our current cash position is 174 million cash on the balance sheet. We have another commitment of 110 million from Wheaton Precious Metals, so our total cash available to us is 284 million. Our shareholders have been very supportive to our strategy and our development, and importantly, board and management own about 8.5% of the company. Gran Colombia remains our largest shareholder. It owns 44.3% of the outstanding shares. It's committed to vote in line with management, and it is also not able to sell any shares without our permission until they get that over 2 years. So they're well locked in and extremely supportive, and we're following on the good work that they did, and they have been extremely helpful in the Colombian connections on the administrative side, licensing, permitting, and social issues. As we grow, we will look towards improving our free float and liquidity. And this slide really looks at who the leadership team is. It's the same management team that operated and created Lear Gold and Endeavour, independent board, including the industry leaders who built such companies as Goldcorp, Wheaton River, Wheaton Precious Metals, Yamana, Gran Colombia, and of course Lear Gold and Endeavour. We're also able to count on long-term support from Frank Giustra, who I personally partnered with for many years now as a strategic advisor, and a friend and understander, and somebody who's been very much involved in the development of both Lear Gold and Endeavour in the past. If we look now to our growth responsibilities and the long-term value creation for our shareholders and communities, Aris Gold is committed to doing the right thing when it comes to corporate social responsibility and sustainability. We aim to grow responsibly and give back to our host countries and help in their economic development, the regions and areas in which we work. This started when Aris Gold took over the company in February with the new corporate policies, governance protocols, all of which we've posted on the website. They can be seen. Going forward, through a series of reviewing our operations, we will advance our public sustainability disclosure to be in line with the best international and industry standards. In conclusion, I think it's fair to ask the question, why invest in Aris? Well, we're a team of successful company builders that are personally invested in the deal. We're repeating a clear and proven strategy, growth strategy, to build our next globally relevant gold mining company. We're starting with a strong foundation and at an ideal time to deliver what can be and will become Colombia's next major gold mine. We have a strong financial position with 284 million of cash available to us, and we have a unique access to additional capital for growth. We are grounded in good governance, responsible mining practices, and sustainability. So that is the formal part of the presentation to give you an idea of our thinking, where we're going, where we've come from, and how we see the future and how we will build Aris Gold into a leading intermediate gold producer over the next couple of years or so. So if I can hand you back over for Q&A.
Great, thanks a lot, Neil. That was a great presentation. So yes, now we'll turn over to the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we'll have Andrew and Megan join us. Just a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type in your questions at any point, and we'll read them off. So maybe to get started, you talked a bit about the access to capital that you have. Could you maybe outline what that gives you runway for? Obviously the Marmato expansion is fully funded, but what else does that give you room to do?
It gives us room to do a couple of things. It gives us room to spend money on the exploration, because we do think there is huge potential, particularly at Marmato, of extending the mine life and improving the whole economics of the project. We believe there's good potential in our Canadian project. We need to demonstrate that and build that. So it gives us that. But also, very importantly, it gives us access to capital for our next acquisition. We are going to grow by acquisition. It's part of our nature. It's in our DNA to do so. We structured previous companies along the lines of the operating team managed the operations. The corporate team didn't get too involved, apart from setting targets, agreeing certain authorization levels and monitoring and that sort of thing, and the strategy. But we let the operating teams operate so that we as a corporate team, and keep it small, we as a corporate team could be flexible, deal orientated, and be able to bring in more deals. And we're following that same kind of profile and pattern now. So access to capital strengthens our position to do that.
Great. So yeah, I wanted to pick up on a couple things in that answer there. First of all, kind of with the drilling, specifically at Marmato, you're about 50% of the way through that, I think, as of last month. When is that slated to roll up and or to wrap up? And is that mainly focused on the converting resources and expanding in that area, or are you doing any other kind of testing other targets potentially that are more distant?
It should be complete round about, give or take, the third quarter. It's difficult because of getting drill rigs. It's difficult because of COVID. It's difficult because of getting people in and out. So, nothing in mining in the moment is as smooth as it should be and as well organized as it ought to be. So it's difficult to be precise on that. We are doing resource conversion. That's the primary time. But we have stepped out in a few places just to see what's there. And so far, it's looking good. So we'll carry on doing that. But the real objective is resource conversion to get a more stronger, robust economic mine. It's great now. If we can make it better, it's worth doing. We've got time to do extensions and other things later. So that's where we're focusing.
Okay. And the other piece of that, the earlier response was just with respect to acquisitions. Maybe, I think it's important for investors to understand what kind of criteria you're using and, what would be of interest to you, maybe in terms of jurisdictions or what the focus would be on that.
Our historic strength for the team, the operating team, and the board is very much Latin America. I mean, okay, Americas as well, but Latin America. We at Endeavour stepped out and had a little parlay, a little wander around West Africa. That was quite interesting. But our core strength and knowledge is most definitely Latin America, and that will be our focus. Not only because we've got the knowledge, and experience, but also because we believe there'll be a number of opportunities there in different countries. So, quick answer, Latin America.
Okay.
And also, we'd be looking at our next acquisition. We'd like to be a producing asset. We've got good exploration potential. We have a small mine now. We're building a mine. What we need is cash flow. What we need is size, robustness, and a balanced portfolio. So therefore, acquisition of a producing mine would be our primary objective on the next acquisition.
Right. Great. I think that definitely gives investors an idea of what your focus is. Another question that's come in about the kind of on the financial and corporate side is, I'll just kind of read it out here. This person is a shareholder in the company, and he's saying with over 300 million Canadian in the treasury, why is the market valuing the mine and resource in the ground at almost nil value considering the market cap?
Well, the money is going to be spent on producing the gold from the mine. The money that we have is just over the capex, so that money is earmarked to go in the ground to produce that economic return from the mine and the ounces. I think that's the simplest answer to give to that.
Okay. So I'd like to, another question coming in, just wondering a bit more on the CSR initiatives that you outlined, and maybe if you could talk to the relationship with the local community around Marmato, and you already touched on the connection with the local officials, but maybe a bit more on the local community there.
Okay, Andrew, do you want to start off on that one? I'll throw in later.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of CSR initiatives, when we came into Caldas and Marmato, we, as Neil mentioned, we published new governance policies on our website, and we want to take a very holistic approach when it comes to sustainability. We also have our sustainability policy there as well, and really focusing on 4 key pillars: health and safety being a priority, environmental stewardship, active community engagement and support, and ongoing transparency and social accountability. We do have, with the management team and board having big company experience, we do want to bring that mentality to this business going forward. We know it's important to investors. So we have started by putting that framework in place. As a next step, what we're doing is we are working with the team on site. We are gathering information, the data, figuring out the areas where we can add value and give back and improve things, but also working through what we can put forward for transparency and accountability purposes by way of publishing some form of disclosure documentation. That's going to come over time. We're working on that right now, but that's part of what we want to do. We want to be very clear and open with respect to what we're doing from a disclosure perspective. And in terms of relationship with the community, Neil, did you want to give a soundbite on that, please?
Okay, yeah. I think it's important to recognize that Marmato is a historic mine in a very, very historic mining community full of very, very small miners. The fact that Gran Colombia were able to bring this study together in the way that they did, the drill program, the fact that they were able to get the community support and the region support and the central government support to get a 30-year mine extension, I think demonstrates a couple of things. I think it demonstrates the relationships that Gran Colombia had and were able to bring to bear, and it also demonstrates the local mine relationships. If it wasn't well accepted, it would not have happened. And it's up to us to build on that and to make sure that as we expand the mine, we employ more people from the local community and do whatever training is necessary to take them from sort of small miners to more corporate type mining mentality. So a good opportunity for us because there is a very strong workforce there, and they have been extremely supportive, and Gran Colombia steered a very good path through that.
Mm-hmm. Great. And kind of a follow-up to that, are there any kind of green energy initiatives that are possible? Like, is geothermal possible in that region? Or
there aren't initiatives that we have on foot at the moment. That being said, the carbon footprint of the mine is quite low when scaled through Latin America in particular, and it's something we'll have to explore down the track. But it's not a concern based on the way that we operate right at the moment, and even with the expansion. So it is a potential future area we can look at, but there aren't initiatives right at this stage in that regard.
Okay. Turning to a bit of a different topic, got a question coming in on the, has the process to update the environmental permits and all of that's required to start the expansion project been started?
The application to modify will be put in a few weeks' time. The preliminary work has been done and discussed with the relevant departments, so we're very much on track that was set out before to achieve that. And a great job's been done at the mine and with the people there to do that. So yeah, we're very much on track.
Okay. And is the, I guess, is there, you talked about in the presentation the, ongoing work to kind of improve the productivity in the upper zone. Could you maybe explain to investors what that entails, I guess, before the bigger expansion comes on?
I can start. So in terms of what's being done, I mean, this, again, I think it's important to know that the mine's been operating since 1991. It's been productive, consistently producing, but there hasn't been a focus in the past on things like grade control. It's been operated fairly smoothly for a number of years, but not with the same focus that we as an international mining company with good experience would bring to bear. It's things like 3D modeling and remine planning. It's stuff that can be implemented relatively quickly at limited capital. It's taking a look at the process flow sheet, identifying potential inefficiencies and improving areas from that regard. It's educating, training, mobilizing the workforce just to operate in a way that's consistent with the way that we've operated mines in the past. And it's, we identify it as very sort of high return initiatives that we can put in place relatively quickly in the upper mine. So, it's not a capital spent. It's more just getting people on the ground and changing the way things are done, so to speak.
Okay.
When we did the transaction about 9 weeks ago, we were essentially a corporate finance team. The essence had coming from their gold endeavor. Over the last 8 weeks, we've expanded our operating capability as we got into it by bringing in additional people that we've been involved with in the workforce as general managers of other mines. So we're now bringing that team together so that they can carry on in that kind of way and do the sort of things that Andrew was talking of.
Okay, great. Another question is, we saw reports last month of torrential rains in the Caldas area. Is there any impact on operations from that?
No, the usual slowdown for a period of time, but no major impact.
Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, so maybe just turning towards upcoming news flow for the company. You've got drilling ongoing. Are you planning to put out larger batches of drill results in the future? Is there a Q1 production update coming, or what else is there?
I think what the next thing we'll be looking at is really the appointment of an EPCM contractor for the lower mine. And associated things with the development plan of the lower mine. That's the most important thing on our desk at the moment, to get that set up properly. so that we can follow through in a strong way. As I say, we're increasing our operating strength by bringing people in who've just joined us, who have done this, and we're reviewing everything now to make sure it's focused in the right direction. So I think that's something we'll be able to talk about fairly soon. We're not going to drib out the odd drill result here, the odd drill result there. That's not what we're about. But when we have something substantial to say on the drilling side, we will do. There was something else, Meg, we were talking about news. I can't remember what it was now. Do you remember? There were three things. Okay.
You know what? One other thing potentially, when we do finalize around the Juby drilling campaign as well, we may make some mention what we're going to be doing in terms of that. But yeah, Neil's right. I mean, it's those points when we do get to a point where we've completed that 35,000 meters of drilling at Marmato. That will be in the third quarter. We'll announce around that too. But again, it's really about the development of the lower mine. Our guys are in there doing the right thing in terms of the steps to optimize the upper mine. But it's really going to be news around the lower mine development in the near term.
And I'd be disappointed if we didn't announce another deal before the end of the year.
Great. And just wondering on a resource update, I know it's been mentioned. Is that something that you would look to put out separately, or would that be something that would just kind of be included in the annual information form?
I think it depends on where the drill results come in, how they come in over the next few months. I think it depends whether it affects the mine plan and exactly what stage we're at with the development of the mine as to how relevant, how important that would be. But if it is relevant and important, we'll certainly put it out.
Right. Okay. Great. So we are getting out of questions now. So maybe if there's any final words you want to leave investors with, this would be a great time to leave a final word for them.
No, I think the only thing I'd like to say is that we're very pleased the way it's come together. We're very pleased with the team we're building and we've put together now, because we've known each other for many years, and we've brought in, as I say, bringing in a fair amount of operating strength. It's a good asset. It's got huge potential. It's a very, very good first step for us. The skill set is going to be to make sure we manage that properly, and that's the assessment we're going through now. The second thing is to make sure we add a good acquisition to it in the near term, and we carry on building that way, which is what we intend to do.
Great. I think that's a great way to leave the webinar. So I'd like to thank Neil, Andrew, and Megan from Aris Gold for taking the time to host this webinar today with Red Cloud Securities. And I'd like to thank everybody on the line for tuning in with us.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.